Welcome to MarcusG.tv. I'm Chef Marcus Guiliano. I'm a chef on a mission. Today's mission is farm to table. Farm to table scams, what farm to table restaurants lack, just the deceptive marketing that restaurants do to make you think they're doing all these great things. Trying something different today. I have the camera mounted on the table here in front of my desk instead of up above my monitor looking down at me. Somebody made a comment on my one of my videos of the day. Why don't you put the camera down a bit? So the camera's right in front of me. I have one of those Joby flexible tripods. It's really awesome, and I've been using a lot lately. That I've been gonna wrap around things and really shoot. It's really awesome. So I was at a great wine event 2 weeks ago, a week and a half ago, in Poughkeepsie. It's a St. Francis hospital event. It's a super high-end wine event for doctors and a fundraiser for the hospital. A couple $100 a ticket. It's really awesome. And there was this restaurant there, a newer restaurant there this year. And I was talking to the lady because she was obviously there to market the restaurant. And I'm not picking on this restaurant, but this is what a lot of restaurants do. And it's a local restaurant here in the Hudson Valley on the other side in Dutchess County. And they're touting farm to table and everything's local. So I said to her, everything's local? She goes, everything's local in our kitchen, in our restaurant. Everything's local. I said, oh, so you must have a really, I'm trying to engage conversation with her. I'm like, oh, so you must really have some nice bar selection. She goes, oh yeah, everything's local. Everything we do is local. I said, oh, okay. And I could tell the way she was hyping it up that she was a little too like anxious. And I'm like, this just isn't the case. I'm like, she's sitting here telling you that everything's local that they're serving, which first of all, it's impossible to serve everything local in a restaurant. You have to buy sugar, right? You have to buy chocolate, you have to buy lemons. There's certain things that just don't come from your area up here in the Northeast in New York. So, you know, those are kind of like the give me items. There's certain items that you say, okay, yeah, I just have to buy. And so I'm a farm to table restaurant, but I'm buying a lot of stuff local. You know, I would have loved to see her say, well, we focus on local. We have a lot of partnerships with local farms and this and that, but to stay in my face, it's all local, it's all local, it's all local. And I didn't want to argue with her or anything. I just wanted to check out the website. Their card's cool. The marketing was great. The booth was great. So I get back to my restaurant and I hit the computer the next day and I start looking things up. And it's amazing because you can't tell if they're farm to table. They're serving farmed salmon. Of course, farmed salmon is a very toxic item to serve. Wild salmon would be the much better solution. But you go on their menu and it's, let's see here, bar menu, dinner menu. They're serving beef out of Chicago from actually a feedlot. They're serving feedlot beef. They're serving a veal parmesan. It doesn't say where the veal's from. They do have a local burger with a list of farm on the local burger, which is great. Portobello, you know, there's a great local farm, Bullock Farms, that does portobellos here locally in the Hudson Valley. It doesn't denote that they're using a local portobello. The salmon is farmed. Scallops, of course, those are regional. Scallops are one of those gimme items. Okay, those are a couple hundred miles away off of Nantucket or something, which is fine for regional because, like I said, you can't get everything local. Prince Edward Island mussels, so that's a Northeast regional thing up through Canada. But as I'm going more over their menu, then I hit the bar section, right? I'm thinking like, oh, they're touting like all these local things, right? So I look at their wine list. Their wine list has like 40, 50 wines and only 2 New York State wines. For being in the Hudson Valley, we have a lot of awesome wines that are being made here now, but we really have incredible wines coming out of the Finger Lakes and out of Long Island, out of the North Fork. Some really awesome wines. So they've skipped that whole category and gone for all of these international, a lot of Spain, a lot of Italian choices, Austrian, French, New Zealand. So the wines are just all over the place. There's this little small, little section on 2 New York State wines. Personally, I'd like to see more because remember, she was touting to me how local everything is. Then we go to their barman. I even had a specific conversation. I was like, oh, I'd love to see your spirit selection. She goes, oh yeah, all of our spirits are local. And I'm thinking, and she was and I even said to myself again, oh yeah, local spirits. She goes, oh yeah, all of our spirits are local. So as I'm on their website looking now, there's Chambord, there's Cointreau, there's all these things that are not in America, that are not local, and they're not even they're owned by huge, massive conglomerates that they're serving things by, big conglomerates. And you go over to the beers, three local beers, and then we have Budweiser, Bud Lights, Beck, and then you go to Coca-Cola products. It's just amazing. Here's my point. If you're a farm-to-table restaurant and you're marketing farm-to-table, you better make sure that if you're going to sit there and tout that everything's local, you better make sure that it's coming from local sources, first of all. But here's the thing. Most people would never even question. They'd see the fancy advertising, see the fancy booth, and people talking a game, and they're going to a restaurant thinking that they're eating healthier, more local food, when in fact, that farm to table, it's not even a designation, farm to table, it's a loose advertising word. I'd like to see farm to table be an actual certification. I'd love to see that. Somebody needs to come out and do that. Maybe I'm the person to do that. Farm to table certification that says I'm serving this many local things throughout the course of the year. Now, granted, in the Northeast here, in the northern part of the United States, we can't get local things all year. So you have to have some kind of leadway. But I got to tell you, there still is lots of local grains, local cheeses, local meats, local potatoes, all these storage crops that you can still, local beans. We're getting local sunflower oil. There's all these things that you can actually get that are local year round that the average restaurant doesn't associate. They associate being farm to table with going down the street to the farmer's market between June and October and buying 10 things a week, 10 things every Friday or Saturday or Wednesday at the farmer's market. And that's what they consider being farm to table. Everything else comes from a big distributor. There's no thought process into it. I'd like to see some socially responsible aspects in a farm-to-table designation. I'd like to see, to make sure that they're not buying slave labor chocolate, that they're not buying slave labor sugar, that they're not buying slave labor seafood from shrimp from Thailand or shrimp from Asia. I'd like to see a really focus on regional, small, independent brands that are representing their community across the globe, wherever they are. Let's face it, you can't have local cognac. Cognac doesn't exist here in the U.S. We can buy great local whiskey in a lot of states, but you can't buy local cognac. You can't buy Bordeaux wine. And I got to tell you, I go to the Bordeaux wine tasting every single year. And it's a big disappointment. I haven't gone the last probably year or 2 years because most of the vineyards that are there are not independently owned. The way the French government has it set up is it's hard for a winemaker to leave his property to his kids. The amount of taxes are astronomical. So what happens is they sell them to investment banks, insurance companies. This is like Geico making your $200 bottle of Bordeaux wine. Okay, so the family businesses are getting lost, and they're going to all these big conglomerates and investment groups. And I'm walking around like, are you independently owned? Are you independently owned? Like 20% of the room is independently owned and operated. It's shameful. So I think in a farm-to-table designation, there should be, if you're focusing on the best local food in your area, then you should be best focused on the best food in the area that it's coming from in that part of the world, okay? All these farm-to-table restaurants are using Chinese garlic, farmed salmon, GMO soy sauce. It's amazing what happens outside of those few items that they're using. So farm-to-table designation, maybe I'm the person to do it. The more I'm talking about this, the more I'm getting excited about this farm-to-table designation. Balance socially responsible foods, balance independently produced foods for small communities, people that are making impacts. I think I've already said this, but I'm really getting excited about this. Farm-to-table. What would it take to be farm-to-table certified? Food for thought. So next time you go to a restaurant and they're touting all farm to table, just say, you know what, I would appreciate if you offered more local spirits, more local beers, more local wines, especially if you're here in New York. We have a massive selection of spirits and beer and wine. But it's like that wherever you go across the country. First thing I do when I travel is I go to some type of wine store, Whole Foods, health food store, And I go right to the local section. I say, what do you guys produce right here that's local? I want to know, is there local wine? Is there local beer? Are there local spirits? What here is local? So when I'm out and about the next 3 days, 4 days in this community, in this city, that I can experience what's produced here locally. Is there a brewery that I can go visit? Is there a distillery that I can go visit? And I got to tell you, every state we go to, there's something going on right there. It's amazing. With 4,500 breweries nationwide, and I don't know how many distilleries, restaurants have all these choices now to buy things that are local and regional. So just don't, restaurants, if you're listening to this, don't focus on those 10, 12 items from May or June to October. Focus year round. Get involved in food hubs. Food hubs are fantastic. They're popping up all over the country. A lot of these food hubs are non-profit. They're run by somebody who got grant money, that are there to promote local things that are going on. I buy from a food hub. I buy from another local distributor, and another food hub's coming in Sullivan County, which will be operating by next March, which is 6 months away from now. So it's really exciting to see, especially when all these farmers band together and they join forces. It's amazing to see the products that you can have year round. I'm Chef Marcus Guiliano. Thanks for watching. If you like my videos, please hit like, subscribe to my channel. If you have any questions or comments, leave them below and I'll try to answer them.